welcome to the Kwedu Report. Joining you from Sydney, Australia, my name is Harry. Hope you are all enjoying the World Cup wherever you are. And we begin with some news on the World Cup. Popular, passionate, and colorful Congolese superfan Michael Kuka Mboladinga has been denied a US visa where he was supposed to go and watch his country's upcoming match in the round of 32 against England. Now, Kuka Mboladinga will miss the DRC Congo's must-win World Cup game after being denied a United States visa, officials have said. On Saturday, the Leopards from the DRC defeated Uzbekistan 3-1 in Atlanta, securing a maiden World Cup knockout round appearance with a hard-fought comeback victory powered by Newcastle United striker Yohan Wissa-Bresse. Now, the Congolese team finished third in Group K and will return to Atlanta next Wednesday to face England in the round of 32 knockout stage. Now, this year's expanded 48-team competition has highlighted African nations' rising influence, with Congolese head coach Sebastien Desabre saying, "I believe that, yes, there should be more African teams in the World Cup." Now, Mboladinga has become a symbolic figure at all Congolese matches for idolizing the country's founding president, Patrice Lumumba, who was allegedly murdered by the CIA and the Belgian government in 1961. Staying in Africa, in Central Africa, where the Central African Republic government has declared a cholera outbreak after 24 deaths. Now, the Central African Republic government has declared a cholera outbreak after confirming 24 deaths and 197 cases near the capital, Banjul, according to the health minister. The Minister of Health confirmed a cholera outbreak in the health districts of Bimbo and Mbaiki, southwest of Banjul, said Pierre Somse late Friday. Now, in Uganda, the military chiefs have ordered shutdown of two major media outlets. Now, Kainerugaba, son of President Yoweri Museveni, said at least 6 nation media group outlets were closed as soldiers surrounded Daily Monitor offices, and he warned all media to follow what he called rules. On Sunday, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba ordered the closure of the Daily Monitor and NTV Uganda, deploying soldiers to Kampala premises and declaring he did not believe in a free press. Now, Muhoozi, who is a son of President Yoweri Museveni, has in recent months strengthened his grip after his father secured a controversial 7th term in May, claiming authority to regulate all media in the country. Now, the nation media group outlets were shuttered as Kainerugaba declared they would not reopen without his permission, arguing the press should be guided by what he called cadres of the revolution. Meanwhile, the National Association of Broadcasters has expressed deep concern after at least 6 outlets were shuttered, while staff at the Kampala premises were prevented from leaving or entering on Sunday morning. As Kainerugaba seeks to succeed his 81-year-old father, this closure mirrors a 2013 shutdown over succession reports, intensifying his control over Uganda's military and political landscape. Now, in Burkina Faso, the military government has cut all diplomatic ties with former colonial power France. Now, in the West African country of Burkina Faso, the ruling military government led by Captain Ibrahim Traore announced late Friday it had cut all diplomatic ties with former colonial power France, accusing Paris of persistently acting against its interests. Meanwhile, France has called the decision hostile and baseless. Now we go to the Southern African region where SADC has sidestepped Afrophobia debate as South Africa report vanishes from summit agenda. Questions are mounting over the Southern African Development Community's response to the rising Afrophobic violence in South Africa after a highly anticipated report on the crisis was controversially withdrawn from the agenda of an extraordinary organ Troika summit, denying regional leaders and the opportunity to formally deliberate on one of the region's most sensitive and pressing issues. Now, the report was expected to brief heads of state and government on the growing wave of anti-migrant attacks, intimidation, and vigilante actions targeting foreign nationals in South Africa, as well as measures being undertaken by the South African government to contain and deal with this unrest. Instead, the delegates were informed that the item had been removed from the summit agenda with no public explanation provided for its controversial withdrawal. In the US, the White House has requested $1.4 billion for urgent Ebola crisis response. The White House has requested more than $1.4 billion from Congress to combat the rapidly expanding Ebola virus outbreak, as confirmed by a Trump administration official. This request includes $800 million specifically earmarked for humanitarian crisis management, part of a larger supplemental funding proposal presented to Congress. According to the official from the US, the plan designates $800 million for establishing a quarantine center in Kenya for American citizens exposed to the Ebola virus, alongside funding for supplies, treatment, and infection control measures. Additionally, $500 million is sought for bolstering global health security to prevent the virus spread to the United States of America, encompassing disease surveillance and laboratory enhancements. Now, congressional aides acknowledge potential obstacles as lawmakers expressed dissatisfaction with the administration's previous refusal to allocate funds for global medical care. Concerns over cuts to U.S. public health aid in Africa have amplified as the outbreak in the Congo's Bundibugyo strain has infected over 1,000 individuals, with the World Health Organization warning of a potential escalation. Critics stress an immediate and serious response is necessary. We go now to Europe, where hospitals have been overwhelmed with the heat wave as it reportedly shifts to the east. Emergency rooms reported a fourfold rise in heat-related visits as Spain linked 212 deaths to the heat, while the heat wave continues. At least 101 million Europeans have endured the temperatures over 35 degrees Celsius for several days, with the forecast indicating more than 380 million people face heat exceeding 30 degrees Celsius across the continent. Samantha Burgess, Deputy Director of the Copernicus Climate Change Service, attributed the extreme heat to a heat dome of trapped air from the North Africa, preventing cooler air from moving in. Between Sunday and Wednesday, Spain's monitoring system linked 212 deaths to the heat, while France reported at least 55 drownings as residents sought relief in unauthorized areas. Paris Police Prefect Patrice Faure reported hospitals were reaching a saturation point, prompting authorities to ban evening alcohol sales and public consumption in Paris starting today. UN Climate Chief Simon Stiell said the heatwave has the fingerprints of the climate crisis all over it, warning that until humanity stops burning colossal amounts of coal, oil, and gas, extreme heat will keep getting worse. Now, in Turkey, the police has detained dozens of LGBTQ pride events in Istanbul. Police detained at least 50 people, including a journalist, after Istanbul Pride went ahead despite a ban and heavy restrictions on rally sites. On Sunday, Turkish police detained at least 50 people at a gay pride event in Istanbul that proceeded despite a ban by local authorities and the lockdown of the city's main gathering point. Now, since 2015, the annual Pride March has been systematically banned in Turkey, while President Recep Tayyip Erdogan frequently targets the LGBTQ community, blaming it for a declining birth rate. Authorities blockaded Taksim Square and Kadıköy and restricted subway transport, while the Istanbul Bar Association displayed a banner on Istiklal Avenue reading LGBTQ rights in Istanbul. The Turkish Journalists Union reported journalist Mubera Unsal's detention, stating journalists covering the Istanbul Pride March faced unlawful interference again this year, despite a valid press card. While protesters vowed to continue demonstrations, authorities ordered an Istanbul gay bar to close following campaigns by Islamist groups against an LGBTQ cruise program organized by Ona Mustafa Dogan Yilmaz. In Albania, protesters have rallied for 28 straight days against alleged Trump son-in-law linked project. Protesters say the $1.6 billion project threatens protected wetlands and has drawn at least several thousand people nightly, AFP journalists have reported. Protesters in Albania are demanding the cancellation of a luxury resort project in the Vosanata protected delta, sparking a movement dubbed the Flamingo Revolution and calling for Prime Minister Edi Rama's resignation. Now, the movement emerged in late May, opposing a multi-billion dollar development-backed project by Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner. Now, thousands have marched nightly in Tirana, Albania, using cardboard flamingos to symbolize the delta's ecological richness, chanting Albania is not for sale, to demand an end to policies favoring politically connected investors. Now, Albania's anti-corruption agency has opened investigations into the project, while the European Parliament continues to pressure the Albanian government to suspend developments in protected areas. Prime Minister Rama dismissed environmental objections as misinformation. Demonstrators now include retirees alongside young activists, reflecting deeper dissatisfaction with the nation's economic model since the 1990s. 70-year-old Bujara Ishmi described Albania's political system as a half-hearted democracy. In Venezuela, the earthquake's death toll is now nearing 1,500, with others reportedly missing. Foreign rescue teams from 24 nations joined the search as officials said 3,150 people were injured, with more than 12,000 displaced. On Sunday, interim President Delcy Rodriguez confirmed the death toll from twin earthquakes in Venezuela had reached 1,450, with rescue operations continuing in La Guaira as workers searched for survivors. Wednesday's twin magnitude of 7.2 and 7.5 earthquakes collapsed 774 buildings in La Guaira, with the Geological Survey estimating more than 10,000 deaths were possible from the disaster. More than 2,600 foreign rescue workers, meanwhile, arrived to assist, including a Colombian team that saved 11-year-old boy Moses from the rubble, while at least 33 people were rescued by Saturday evening. Venezuela's largest refinery in shut down on Sunday after a power outage, while electricity was also restored to 75% despite complaints of limited equipment. Now, opposition leader Maria Corina Machado announced plans to return to Venezuela, a move the White House official said frustrated senior officials in Washington, while just under 50,000 people remain unaccounted for. Now, in Australia, a man has been charged with murder after a body for a teenage girl was found in a suitcase in Thailand. An Australian man has been charged with murder after a 17-year-old Thai girl's naked body was discovered inside a suitcase near a railway line in Thailand. Now, Thai police arrested Simon Peter Kaman, an Australian national in his 40s, at Bangkok's Savanabhumi airport in the early hours of Saturday. Police say he was preparing to leave the country. He has been charged with murder, concealing and moving a body, destroying evidence, and taking a minor for sexual purposes, according to police reports. He denies the charges. Now, investigators say CCTV footage showed Mr. Kaman entering an apartment block with the teenager at about 3:30 a.m. on Thursday. Hours later, cameras allegedly captured him leaving the building alone, carrying a large suitcase. Now, according to a post on the police official Facebook page, the suitcase was then loaded onto a motorcycle and transported to a grassy area near a railroad track in Pattaya, about 150 kilometers east of Bangkok, where officers later found the girl's body. She had been reported missing on Friday evening. Now, in Zimbabwe, Joshua Ngomo's son has blasted Home Affairs Minister Ziyambi. Now, the ZAP president, son of former vice president of Zimbabwe, Joshua Ngomo, he has blasted the Zimbabwean minister Ziyambi for what he calls trying to rewrite Zimbabwe's history. Now, this comes after Ziyambi allegedly said that there was no genocide in Zimbabwe. Ngomo's son said that by denying that there was a genocide in Zimbabwe, Ziyambi was trying to rewrite Zimbabwe's history. Now, the ZAP president, Sibangilizwe Ngomo, has launched a blistering attack on Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Minister Ziyambi, accusing him of historical revisionism after the minister dismissed Gukurahundi as a conflict rather than a genocide during debate in the Senate. Ziyambi is the Minister of Justice, Legal and Legal Affairs in Zimbabwe. Now, Ngomo said he was utterly disgusted by remarks attributed to Ziyambi, arguing that the minister was denying well-documented atrocities committed in Matabeleland and parts of the Midlands during the 1980s. Now, Ngomo accused the minister of attempting to erase one of Zimbabwe's darkest chapters while claiming others were rewriting history. He says people should not rewrite history and stoke emotions, yet he is the one who is rewriting history and stoking emotions. He is in denial, Ngomo said. He wants to sweep under the carpet this very, very sad page of our history, added Ngomo, who is the son of the former vice president of Zimbabwe. The ZAP leader maintained there was overwhelming evidence that Gukurahundi constituted a genocide, citing what he described as empirical and forensic evidence showing civilians were targeted because they were Ndebele speaking or affiliated with the opposition ZAPU or perceived to be supporting the opposition leadership. Now, the Gukurahundi was a very blood conflict that happened in Zimbabwe in the 1980s, where thousands of people, mainly Ndebele speaking, were murdered as the government sent the North Korean trained 5th Brigade into the region. Now, the President Emerson Mnangagwa government has in recent months tried to address the issue by setting up Gukurahundi Commission of Inquiry, which has been controversially received, with a lot of groups expressing dissatisfaction at the constitution of the body and the way the process is being carried out. Ladies and gentlemen, that story from Zimbabwe brings us to the end of today's edition of the Kwedu Report. Till we meet you again in the next edition of this program, have a good one.